is Sheridan, and when I was 8 years old, I lost all of my hair. This video is for you if you lost your hair when you were a child, or for you if you lost your hair now being an adult and you're curious into how that affects you psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and would like to do some really deep healing to get to the root, get to the core of patterns that are showing up in your life and show up full of acceptance, ease, grace, empowerment, confidence, and a really healthy sense of self-esteem. If you like this type of video, please comment below, subscribe, let me know that you enjoy it so that I can continue to make more. I enjoy this a lot more when I know what you like, and I can actually give you advice that is rooted in what you are actually experiencing and speak from my wisdom there. So let's get into it. So to begin this video and begin understanding how we can use our inner child and use this depth psychology to help us experience hair loss with more ease, I want you to forget completely about hair loss. Forget about it, forget about it, forget about it. And first, we're going to understand the concept of fragmentation and the inner child, and a little bit of shadow work here. So when we are a child, many things happen to us. And as a child, we do not have the same tools and the same capacity to deal with and process what is happening to us in that very moment. If you've seen my other videos on trauma, you understand that trauma is when something happens to you that your nervous system cannot assimilate and process in that very moment, which helps us understand that a traumatic event can be something quite simple when we look at it logically, and it also can be something quite big. So when we are a child and we don't have all of the tools, we don't have all of the words, we don't have all of the power to manipulate our surroundings to help us process, there are many things that can happen that can be either traumatizing, or you might even just want to look at it as quite difficult. When something happens to us, particularly as a child, that we cannot deal with in that specific moment, it doesn't just disappear. It's not even though in the moment it can feel like we just keep going on and we keep moving on with our lives, what actually happens are two things. When we look at it in a mental point of view, like a psychological point of view, we have the process of fragmentation. For example, if something were to happen when you were a child and it caused you pain, particularly if it caused you pain and you were alone with that pain, or you felt helpless, as in there wasn't anything that you could do as a child to relieve yourself of that pain, or there were only a few things you could do and it didn't quite feel enough, then your mind, as a coping mechanism, as a very intelligent and smart coping mechanism, develops the capacity to do what we would call like fragmentation. And it will develop different parts of you. So let's say, for example, you have, I'm going to use a personal example. Let's say, for example, like it happened to me when I was young, even before my hair loss, I was bullied. So I was bullied at school and it was very painful for me. So what my mind did was it took that little memory, it took that piece of me, that part of me, that version of who I was that day when I was bullied, speaking specifically of one example, that day when I was bullied, and it kind of stored it away in my mind. And it said, okay, we're going to put this all the way back here because right now we don't have the tools, capacity, power, understanding to deal with it. So with a lot of intelligence, we put it back there and we keep moving on. Sometimes moving on can be painful. Sometimes it's not so painful. It doesn't change the fact that we've taken this little experience and we've put it away so that we can then make sense of our life and continue in our day-to-day things. in that moment, we've successfully compartmentalized, we've successfully fragmented, we've moved it away, and we actually develop what we would call a part of ourselves. And we can go into this a little bit deeper. I might do another video on it. If you're inside of any coaching with me, this is all inside of milestone 2 of acceptance and confidence ascension. But for now, let's just understand that we've just put it away for a second and we've continued on with our life. And we've done all of these wonderful things, and maybe more things have happened, and maybe we've compartmentalized and fragmented and put them all away in different parts. And we've ended up with a whole person with lots of little things going on. And sometimes they feel more present, and sometimes they feel less present. And that's okay, that's normal. So that's one thing that happens when we have what we're going to call a traumatic event. The second thing that happens is that that traumatic event, or that event, it had a physiological effect on you, in that there was an emotion, in that it affected your nervous system, in that it may have had a very physical effect on you. So there may have been, like physical, you may have been in a physical accident where you put your shoulder out or something. Or maybe you were grinding your teeth in that moment. There was a physical reaction. There was a reaction on a nervous system level, on a material level. You can touch this level, as well as an emotional level. An emotion has a physical impact on your body. You feel emotions in your body. And so, because we've had all of these things happen, and it may not have felt like it in the moment, because our body does this very, very intelligent thing, and it says, okay, there's a physical thing happening here from this event. And I don't have the tools, the capacity, the understanding, or the space, or the safety to manage that right now. So I'm gonna take this symptom, let's call it, and I'm gonna put it in my body somewhere. Just gonna tuck it away. Tuck it away where we don't have to manage it, where we don't feel it right now, and tuck it away. Because right now I cannot process it. So I'm gonna tuck it away. These are two things that happen. The part that I first described, the one that we tuck away in our mind, we can call this our inner child. The other, the somatic experience, so the somatic is it's the body experience. We're going to call this the somatic experience. So we have the inner child, and then we have the somatic experience, and they've both been tucked away successfully until the day comes when we have the tools, the space, the security, and the willingness, or the pressure even. Willingness is being here watching this video. Pressure is what took you here to watch this video, whether that be society, whether that be your hair loss, whether that be curiosity, whether that be anxiety or depression, or a little voice in your head saying that you're not good enough, or X, Y, Z, or you need to be better, you need to do something better. Pressure. So we tuck it all away and we wait until we are here. When we are here, that is when we can begin to think about how we can process this and how we can use this to help us experience hair loss with more confidence, ease, empowerment, etc. So now I'm going to invite you to come back to your hair loss journey and think about your hair loss journey. Chances are, if you're here, you have either experienced losing your hair as a child or losing your hair as an adult. There are two ways to use the inner child and the somatic experience to influence how you experience hair loss, and they're going to vary a tiny little bit based on when you lost your hair. Because based on when you lost your hair, it's going to influence the way your inner child, it's going to influence like the experiences that your inner child has. So I'm going to go over, first of all, if you lost your hair when you were a child. If you didn't lose your hair when you were a child, just skip forward about 2 minutes. And that's the part of the video that is more applicable to you. The second part of the video is also applicable to you if you lost your hair as a child, but this specific section is only for us. So whether or not you lost your hair as a child from some type of disease, sickness, disorder, alopecia areata, maybe it's something else, maybe you have a more hormonal alopecia and so it came on when you were a young teen, or maybe that was a sickness or an event that happened, this is going to be particularly applicable for you. Everything you go through as a child is going to be a lot more intense. And we're only, as a child, when it is a really intense experience, we're only capable of processing maybe a portion of it. So if you lost your hair as a child, there are many things that could have happened. Depending on your surroundings, maybe you were left alone with those emotions. Maybe you received the message. Your family and your friends and your community may have been very well intending, that you may have made meaning out of their actions, something along the lines of, I need to fix myself, I'm different, there's something wrong with me, I'm not pretty, I'm odd, I'll be lucky if someone loves me. You may have also, depending on the way you were experiencing it, may have been very empowering. I'm wonderful, I did this the right way, I love being different. You may have had many emotions that came on and you didn't know how to process them, so you kind of stuck them in your body because you can only process a little bit of them. Or you may have learnt, I'm alone when I have strong emotions and there is no one around me to help me with them. So I have a couple of clients and I've also experienced alopecia as a child, and what I found is that sometimes things happen in our lives and we have no idea that it is related to losing your hair as a child. Because we've lived with it for so long, we think we're fine. It's fine, and it is fine, it's not bad. It's just information. But then something will happen, and if you're working with a professional, a really skilled professional, then we might begin to notice patterns. Oh, is that related to the time that you were 14 years old and this happened with your hair? Did you learn that you had to hide yourself subconsciously? Did you subconsciously learn you had to hide who you were because when you were young you started using a wig? And is that directly or indirectly related to a memory from the time you were X years old and you had an experience with a wig, or you had an experience with a doctor, or you noticed your hair falling out, or you were at a sleepover and somebody else noticed? Even when we can be completely oblivious, and if we're working with someone and we use these mindful techniques to notice what's happening deep in the corners of our mind, we might find that we end up in a memory. In a couple of minutes, we're going to how to heal those memories. So, fun fact is that when you are a child until the age of 7, everything that you experience, you take on as truth subconsciously. And we pick up so many messages when we are a child. We could pick up messages such as, I'm not enough, we have to look a certain way to be successful, we have to manage certain things, I have to show up in a certain way for my family, I have to do good at school, my mom and my dad do this, they're around this much, they're not around this much. We learn, we make so much meaning out of our life. We learn our basic understanding of what is a healthy body image, what are ways to treat your body that are correct or acceptable, what we're supposed to look like when we walk out the front door, and we learn how to manage uncertainty, anxiety, emotions, depression. We're modeled this in our society, in our family, in our community, in our schools, and then we take that on and we learn to live life in that way. So, what has that got to do with hair loss? Hair loss will bring up all of these limiting beliefs, fears, insecurities, It will highlight the way that we've learned about body image, about beauty, about acceptance, about insecurity, about uncertainty. It will highlight what we've learned, and then it will show you where that is not really working for you with hair loss, because it causes you anxiety, because it causes you difficult emotions. So if we learn that uncertainty is bad and bad things happen when I can't control things, when we have our hair falling out, well, we're going to feel pretty uncomfortable with uncertainty. It's normal to learn that uncertainty is that way. It's actually quite intelligent, and it's a basic part of our human nature and our human need for survival. So it all comes back to what we learn as a child. And when we're living life through hair loss, through that thing that that person said on that Facebook comment that was triggering for you, through the time that you saw the ad about the shampoo and it was triggering for you, through the conversation that you had with your auntie at Thanksgiving and it was triggering for you, the time that you went to the dermatologist and it was triggering for you, all of these triggers come back and they shine a light on something that we learnt or a little wound that we have, either from the past, so it could have been 2 weeks ago, but the wound that we have even from 2 weeks ago is not new. It's not a new wound. The core wound always comes back to your childhood. It's always shining a little light on something that happened in your childhood. So whether you lost your hair and it's like a very direct, clear message, or whether it's just a simple fact that maybe when you were 11 years old, your uncle said something about how you were putting on weight, and now the idea of not looking a certain way is extremely anxiety inducing for you because you felt so much hurt when you were 11 years old and your uncle said that. You felt it. You not only did you fragment, you've created this inner child inside of you, which was very smart, and we all have, but you've got this hurt on this body basis. So in order to start feeling more empowered, more ease, less anxiety, instead of putting little band-aids on top and learning all the strategies and techniques and mindsets and like reassurance from the Facebook group and the Instagram and this video and all that stuff, instead of putting all the band-aids on top, what we can actually do is we can go super, super deep into that wound, heal the wound at its core, using depth psychology, using mindfulness techniques, using meditation, creating new neural pathways so that those events are less triggering, and instead of living your life on autopilot subconsciously, you go back, you heal those core wounds, and then you get to show up as the person that you've been wanting to be your entire life. Loving your hair loss, loving uncertainty, loving the way that your body changes, or being at least very neutral with it. Neutrality is powerful. And that is it. So the steps are going back and healing, and then this next step is embodying. Embodying that version of yourself, creating this new reality. This is so exciting because this is deep, deep, deep change. This is breaking generational patterns. This is breaking patterns. This is deep change that no one can argue with, and this is that grounded confidence. This is when you access that healthy self-esteem and that grounded confidence that does not depend on your career, on the way that you look, on your relationship, on how much money is in your bank account, on the way that your body feels today, or what size pants you're wearing, or if you're wearing a wig, or if you have makeup on or not. This is essence of you. And if you would like to develop more of that, I have 2 invitations for you depending on where you are. Number 1, link below has a wonderful meditation and journal prompts that are going to help you peel back these layers and look into the beliefs that you have, the experiences that you've had, the fears that you might have, so that you can start today living this more powerful, empowered version of yourself. It's a wonderful place to start. Use the link below to access my meditation and journal prompts. And number 2 is if you'd like to do this deep work and you would like support and this sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and apply for Acceptance and Confidence Ascension. I'm filming this today, late October, and I have 1 spot left. So go into the link and book a clarity call so that we can talk about how we're going to get you healed and powerfully embodied through hair loss and everything else in life. Bye-bye.